Hey folks, welcome back to Interpret Nation. In this video, I'm going to be talking about or making some commentary, rants, on the ideology of software practice and how we've drawn or built sort of shaky ethical framework around software in order to understand it and blame people for doing bad things on it using software. But there's a weird juxtaposition happening in society. On one hand, there are groups of people who claim that they can prove that people do things on computers and that computers will always behave a certain way. These people walk around thinking that when they buy a certain program, they're getting what is described in the end user license agreement or some kind of weird stuff like that. And then there are people on the other spectrum who have absolutely no way to prove. They have no way to prove whether the programs that describe to them will actually behave under their description, or whether there's even a formal means to write down the difference between computer hardware and computer software, much less whether there's a program out there that can compute this difference for you and therefore allow you to trust computer data that claims to enforce or represent this distinction. And of course, some people listening to that little wordplay I've just enacted in front of you will realize that the people who don't know how to prove these things are the computer scientists, cryptographers. I would imagine the Turing theorists and computation theorists out there. No, there is no formal means to distinguish a program from its data besides arbitrary and unprovable semantic labels that we use today. In computers today, there's no way for you to accurately and always determine whether a program is accepting input or executing what is meant to be input or what is meant to be instructions. There's absolutely no way to prove that. And it's so obvious, it's so damaging that even the people who build the software suffer from this massive misunderstanding. And folks in the security industry will tell you that this has brought on two things. One, the malware industry, and two, the zero-day industry. People sell and build viruses and malware that exploit nothing more than a complete misunderstanding about the absoluteness that you can speak with when it comes to computer actions. People cannot ever absolutely prove that their actions do certain things and do not do other things on computers. And this is why clickjacking exists. Clickjacking is an idea directly based on that, and basically any malware, as I've said. The other thing that sprung up because of this misunderstanding is the zero-day industry. There are people out there literally trading misunderstandings or trading misconceptions about software called 0 days that are exploitable in certain ways. They're trading them, and even the people who manufacture the software are at the mercy of these trades. They sometimes even offer to buy them from those people. So powerless are they to understand them or prevent them. This is the reality of 0 days. The very beginning, ironically, of us awakening to our complete ideological delusion of how software works. Even the manufacturers of the software need to eventually buy from those people, because they do really sell things that the manufacturers really do not understand about their software, but that do have actual devastating attacks. These are real things. You don't have to believe me. Go and Google 0 day, and if you are a philosopher, this will shock you to your core. I assure you, if you think about the ethical implications of this. So this is what you should think about in society right now. On one end, there are drones, military actions, and trials and executions happening because of data on computers that say people are good or bad. On the other end, there are people who study the computers, become intimate with them at an academical, intellectual, and sometimes even spiritual level that will shout to you that there is absolutely no way to prove that a program is a program and not data, that a user is a user and not a programmer, that there is a difference between input and output. There are massive things that need to be cleared up in the ontological and philosophical and literal understanding of programs if we are to be properly ethical about them. Anyway, I just wanted to expose some of those ugly details, some of the glitches in the matrix in this video. I hope this sort of introductory rant made sense and that it opens up some questions. I think in one closing thought we could do a quick thought experiment on this. I know it might shock people that I'm utterly turning their whole understanding of something that underpins the very reality of their world upside down. If you understand what I'm saying, this is literally what I'm doing. If you don't understand it, you will think that it's a passing little thought by some confused man. But here's a quick little thought experiment for the real intellectuals out there. Can you build a machine, a literal machine with transistors and electricity that says whether two numbers are equal? So it should accept numbers, and whatever numbers they are. Of course, I can make it even more macabre and say that it should be able to accept any number that is, let's say, a natural number. I'm not going to be so crazy, but any number, essentially, that's a natural number, and it must spit out a yes or no to tell you that it's equal. If you can build that number, now try to build that machine. Now try to build a machine that adds things. Try to build a machine, if you can add things, build one that subtracts things. If you can build one that subtracts things, build one that divides them, that multiplies them, and then write a programming language for that machine, and then write Facebook, host it. And if you cannot explain any of those processes or how you would do it, how on earth are you explaining how Facebook does it now? How are you explaining whether your machine is actually playing the sound as someone's voice, or whether it has been generated by some AI? Because I can tell you again, as a computer scientist, it is entirely possible to manufacture every single syllable sound that I create without any of my intervention. You can do this completely with AI. It's called deep learning, and you can do it with an LSTM if you really want to study the dangerous dark arts of deep learning. But yes, essentially this thought experiment is meant to show you that though you think you understand simple interactions on your machine, they are built on the very misunderstandings you have of the machine itself. So you press a button, think it does something, look at some output, and then in your mind this correlation allows you to act it as causation and therefore proof of your action. But the reality is there's no such way to prove those things. And the scary thing is, if we look at this from in terms of an error bound in a calculation, which I'm sure mathematicians will tell you there are endless ways you can literally express this in such a way. If we look at it like that, and from my training in physics, I know that even the smallest error, the more computation happens on it, the bigger it becomes, the more devastating the fallout of underappreciating the margin of that error becomes. Now you think about how many decisions do you make based on your inaccuracies of computers, and how many of them impact your life, and how big has it impacted your very idea of reality. So yeah, I hope those questions opened up a new understanding to software. I hope they've entered the minds of people who make ethical decisions, and some of them have taken them very literally. But yeah, this is it for this video. This is Interpret Nation. Hit the like if you like the video, and subscribe if you want to see more. Interpret Nation out.